This is a first center of its kind in India, in any IIT. I want the center to grow. I want it to be established as a national hub for humanities excellence in the next 5 years in the country. And I really want to ensure that it sets an example for what a center of excellence in humanities can do. So my suggestion to students who want to pursue a career in digital humanities is always do what you think is passionate. If you are a humanities scholar and you think that the research or the questions that you want to do would be made better by using digital technologies, go for it.
Your comment on the presence of women in academic leadership positions.
You know that I can do an entire podcast on just that question, right? We are recently doing another project on developing an audio archive of 100 rare Sindhi manuscripts from the post-partition Sindhi writing.
What are your aspirations for the Digital Humanities Lab and the JPN Center in the next 5 years?
The Digital Humanities Lab and the JPN Center for me are kind of collating, right? So there are a lot of intersections between the two.
Hello everyone, welcome to the another exciting episode of InnoQuest Talks 1.0, where intellect meets innovation and thinking fuels invention. Today we are diving into a fascinating space where humanities, technology and scholarly publishing coverage to reshape how we think, communicate and build knowledge ecosystem. It's my absolute honor to introduce a visionary whose work has been pivotal in placing Indian digital humanities on the global map. It's none other than Professor Nirmala Menon. She is currently a professor at the School of Humanities and Social Sciences and the chair of J.P. Narayan National Center of Excellence in the Humanities at IIT Indore. Alongside this, she serves as Associate Dean of Administration at IIT Indore and has held several significant administrative roles in the past. She also holds the distinguished position of Affiliate Research Professor at the University of Oxford. Her academic journey is as remarkable as it is inspiring. After completing her PhD in English from the George Washington University, she held academic positions in the US before choosing to return to India. She was motivated by her love for the country and her belief in making an impact on the crowd. Professor Menon has been recognized globally, receiving several prestigious grants and awards including Spark, DST, UK India Education and Research Initiative and the support from Academia Europaea. She has also been honored with the notable fellowships such as the Fulbright Research Fellowship, Charles Wallace Fellowship and the Zuban Saskava Publishing Award. Professor Menon has authored and co-authored several notable books and she has over 100 publications. She has delivered over 50 keynote lectures at national and international forums. Her core research interests span digital humanities, post-colonial studies and publishing studies. She leads the Digital Humanities and Publishing Research Group at IIT Indore and serves as the project director of K-Ship. Her projects focus on building digital archives, preserving cultural heritage and creating multilingual knowledge system, all by blending scholarship with technology. Globally, she holds key leadership positions like she is the founding member and the president of Dharti. She has also served as the vice president of CenterNet and the general editor of Digital Humanities Quarterly and a series editor with Routledge. She also serves as an advisory board of Ubiquity Press and the Open Library of Humanities and Open Access India. So, let's welcome Professor Nirmala Menon to InnoQuest Talks 1.0 for what promises to be an insightful and enriching discussion. A warm welcome to you, ma'am. Your work has played a key role in placing Indian digital humanities on the global map. So, to begin with, we would like to know what does the digital humanities mean and what does the lab in IIT Indore do?
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka, for having me here today. This is a question that I have always got, what is digital humanities? Digital humanities is the intersection of humanities research with digital technologies. That is the most basic way I can explain it. And when we started the lab at IIT Indore in 2014, it was an emerging field. It was very new in India and ours was the first research lab in India. There have been scholars or colleagues working on some digital humanities projects even before that across the country. But as a research lab, as a collaborative lab, this was the first research lab in India. There is a lot of work to be done in the Indian context for digital humanities in three different ways. One is using digital technologies to better or enhance or augment humanities research, and to develop new technologies that are specifically targeted for humanities research and its mandates. And thirdly is, a humanities mandate to also critique and to look at technologies from a critical perspective to see how it impacts society, how it impacts our research ecosystem, and what are the ways in which we can develop sustainable technologies that help research across disciplines. So those are the three ways in which I would put digital humanities.
Okay. That's such a powerful foundation for the field, both globally and especially in the Indian context. Would you like to talk about the digital humanities projects of the lab?
Yeah. So the lab at IIT Indore, started with just 3 students and myself, and the 3 of us would be tinkering with different projects, looking at our research. So one student was working on partition studies, and another student was looking at films, and so we were looking at developing projects from that research. So one of the characteristics of the Digital Humanities Lab at IIT Indore is that we have let our project emerge from our research questions, not the other way around. So we did not do digitization or digital projects for the sake of it. We did it because we really saw that those projects will help enhance our research questions. So we have projects that are just digitization of manuscripts and then annotating it and developing OCR techniques that will help read, Indian scripts more efficiently. We are trying to develop a multilingual database of scholarship in languages other than English across Indian literatures. So we started with a pilot of 4 languages, and we are kind of hoping to make that as an open access, public access database. We are recently doing another project on developing an audio archive of 100 rare Sindhi manuscripts from the post-partition Sindhi writing. That is a work in progress. So those are some examples of projects that we do.
It's amazing to see a deep commitment to both innovation and cultural preservation through various projects and the JPN Center. So, relevant to these projects, what kind of digital infrastructures and research resources are available at the Digital Humanities Lab and the JPN Center?
We don't need very sophisticated or very big instruments, right? What we do need are oftentimes software packages that will help us, like say, do huge data mining of text. So we need the text encoding initiative. We use their database, right? We do have a very good book scanner that is used for digitization of both rare manuscripts as well as contemporary books. So that is one of the major equipments that we have. It is also connected to an OCR software so that the books that we digitize can be annotated at pace, right? So you have, as long as someone is vetting it, we can do the OCR enability of those texts. And so we have an instrument that does that. We have oftentimes bought software licenses like GIS or Atlas TI based on the projects that we are doing. So when we need some project, we have taken annual or biannual subscriptions for those licenses. We have also kind of taken NLP softwares like say a Stanford NLP and worked on it to tweak it for our project. So in that sense, we have developed a tool which we have made available on GitHub. But we use the standard NLP, and then we kind of maneuver it for our research, because when the tool is built, it is often not built for humanities research. Right? So the data that we deal with is more nuanced, it's more textual, and therefore you need specific kind of software that will allow us to understand words and the granularity of those words, right? So that is how we deal with technology. And one of the things that the Digital Humanities Lab and me have always argued is that you need to be there at the conceptualization of a technology, so that we are not always doing the tweaking, right? So tools need to be developed for the kind of research that we do. And that's always been our kind of main thrust of our arguments.
And the center has also supported over 30 projects across the country. So could you share a few notable ones and shed some light on the workshops and trainings offered by the center?
So the JPN Center is fairly recent, and it was established in October of 2022. It was a project that we had submitted to the Ministry of Education, and it took like 4 long years. And the focus of the center are two. We have both digital humanities and environmental humanities. And of course, I take care of the digital humanities part. So part of the mandate of the center is to support projects in these two areas across the country. And so we have, advertised for a call for proposals, and we had expert panels, and we had a peer review process, after which about 30 projects over the last 3 years have been supported by the center. And these projects are, for example, archive of emergency documents, the legislative history, creating a template or a policy document for archiving, for digital archiving. These are projects done by my colleagues across the country. These are not but ones that we have supported. Creating a digital archive of Madhubani paintings from Bihar. So a colleague at IIT Patna is leading that project. So these are some examples of the projects that we have supported across India, and many of those projects will be seeing fruition by the end of this year, and we'll be able to see them go alive, right? Part of the center's mandate is also to do workshops and training, and so we have had training workshops where we have invited both faculty as well as researchers from across the country and given them hands-on training in digitization, in developing OCR, and also having seminars about digital infrastructures. What do digital infrastructures mean when it comes to humanities research? Right? And how do we develop those infrastructures indigenously? So there are many of these databases and archives available globally. Many of them are not targeted towards Indian languages, and inevitably so, because they are not developed for our context. So how do we develop those infrastructures that are born multilingual, right, in the digital space? That has been my priority, and we are hoping that we'll be able to do some of those projects, and some of them will be kind of going live this year also.
Good to hear. So now let's take a step forward and talk about the future. Looking ahead, what are your aspirations for the Digital Humanities Lab and the JPN Center in the next 5 years?
Yeah, thank you. So one of the things that I'm realizing is that the Digital Humanities Lab and the JPN Center, for me, are kind of collating. Right? So there are a lot of intersections between the two. So when I do something with my students who are in the PhD program at the JPN Center, they're also doing it with the HSS students, who are part of our group. But in terms of identifying the aspirations, I want the center to grow. I want it to be established as a national hub for humanities excellence in the next 5 years in the country. This is a first center of its kind in India, in any IIT, and I really want to ensure that it sets an example for what a center of excellence in humanities can do. In terms of project and research goals, I have two things that I am very passionate about. One is that we recently launched the Digital Humanities Intersections, a journal on digital humanities from India. It's the first journal of its kind from India. And we are developing the infrastructure, including the open journal system for the journal at the center. So I also have the ambition to make the journal multilingual in the next 1 or 2 years. So even though the submissions that we are receiving now are in English, we hope to make the journal multilingual. Now the journal is associated with a project that I started in the DH lab, which is K-SHIP, or Knowledge Sharing in Publishing, which is an open access platform for publishing. And that is another, project that kind of incubated so slowly. When we didn't have money, we just had a dream, and now it's beginning to, grow. So the first two publications from the publishing portal was the Electronic Literature Volume 1 from India, the first ever anthology of electronic literature from India, and the second volume is under production now, and we have the journal. We hope to expand the publishing portal to reimagine scholarly publishing. And what I mean by that is the way we think about the traditional book. We want to change that and think about how we think about scholarly publishing in the future. At the moment, we are able to have it open access because of support from the center as well as from IIT Indore. But we have to find more sustainable ways of making that publishing portal. So those are my two things that I would say that I want to focus on in the next 5 years, apart from finishing a book that I have been writing. Okay. So I'm hoping that that will come out in the next year or so, which is also about knowledge infrastructures in India.
Okay.
And what do we mean by knowledge infrastructures, and what is the ecosystem that supports those knowledge infrastructures, and how do we think about it in the digital era?
Oh, that's so thoughtful. Now, speaking of the collaborations, are there any upcoming international collaborations or projects that you are excited about?
Yes, I am. We have ongoing projects with the University of Oxford, with who I am affiliated to, as you know. A Spark project where we are doing a database development with Professor Peter Francois. We also have an ongoing project on which I am a co-PI, which is a museum project with EFLU Switzerland. And that project involves making a virtual museum of Buddhist sculptures in Madhya Pradesh. So my contribution to that project is only that much, understanding and narrating the importance of Buddhist sculptures across Madhya Pradesh. So we have already finished the recording of that project, and it will probably finish in the next year or so. So we already have those. I am personally interested in open science and the future of scholarly publishing. So we are having some discussions with my colleagues both here at IIT Indore as well as in Germany and UK about thinking about sustainable infrastructures for scholarly publishing, and one that takes into account the challenges of the global south, including India.
Well, reflecting on your journey from the post-colonial theorist to a digital humanist, how have your academic interest evolved over time, and what advice would you offer to the students and early career researchers interested in pursuing digital humanities in India?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I started my career as a traditional humanities scholar. I was a post-colonial scholar. I was writing my book, and I published my book too. And it was during the period of writing it, there were some certain challenges and questions that I was asking in that book. One of which had to do with multilingual research in post-colonial literature. So the idea was that while these were good questions, what are the answers to those questions, right? And as humanities scholars, we are trained to think. We are not trained to typically do, right? Unlike my engineering colleagues for who it's probably the opposite. So I like doing things. I'm someone who likes tinkering with things, right? And I thought that how do I actually, make this theoretical argument into a experimental project? And in some way, that was my segue into digital humanities. Okay. And I realized that, and that database project that I talked to you about was my first foray into saying that let's do this, Yeah, I understand, I made the argument, people are convinced that this is a good argument, but then, what is the solution for it? And the solution was to kind of make that database and make that available to the to the public or the citizen or other researchers, right? And I think that's where I began thinking about digital humanities as a kind of veering my research towards digital humanities. I would say that my concerns and my questions as a humanities scholar has not changed very substantially. It's just my approaches to resolving those has changed.
Oh.
Right? And I think I'm very lucky to be in an IIT ecosystem where my interactions with my STEM colleagues always help me look at things a little differently. It also helps me understand that my narration of it has to be different for them to understand what I'm trying to say. And only when we work together do we actually achieve what is impact, right? So my suggestion to students, who want to pursue a career in digital humanities is I would be, go for it. Always do what you think is passionate. If you are a humanities scholar and you think that the research or the questions that you want to do would be made better by using digital technologies, don't be afraid. There are always people who are willing to help you with that, right? So go for that. If you are a computer science student and you think you want to develop technologies that are impactful for society, right, come to the humanities, right? Come to digital humanities, because you will get both there. You will get people who work with technology and someone who has conceptual ideas about humanities scholarship. So, it will enrich both of us, right? Now, having said that, I will also say that at this point, we have many master's courses in digital humanities across India. Right? Our center has a PhD course. There are some PhD programs in other IITs also. Okay. I would say that for now, it is still better to do your undergraduate in a discipline, get your foundations very strong in that discipline, and at the master's level, you kind of decide if you want to do digital humanities or not.
Okay.
That to me is the right thing now. Maybe in future, in the few years, you may have undergraduate programs in digital humanities that kind of fuse both technology and humanities scholarship. Currently, I think it is better to begin that way. That would be my advice to early, to undergraduate students. Postgraduate students, I think, please come. You will find it a very exciting field. And most of the projects that we have done in the Digital Humanities Lab at IIT Indore have been done in collaboration with our BTech students. Okay. So I've always had BTech students work with me in the lab on many of our projects.
Yeah. Good to hear that. This information will be really very useful for the students who are seeking their career in this field. Yeah. Now, ma'am, I have two quick questions for you. What is your comment on the presence of women in academic leadership position?
You know that I can do an entire podcast on just that question, right? I would say it is vitally needed, and it is too few and too less across academia in India. It is true globally, but it is specifically true in India. I do think you want to see women's leadership because they bring strengths to the table that are often not quantified or visible. And I think, Indian academia could use a lot more of that. It is also important to have those role models because, as they say, you cannot be what you cannot see. And you want, young students, young researchers to be able to see that, they can change. They can change the world, they can change the university, they can change things, right? So in both ways, I do believe that, it is inevitable. Let's do it, So there is resistance always. But I will say this, having met colleagues from academia from across the country, both in STEM fields as well as in humanities fields, we have made a lot of cracks into that ceiling, right? And at some point, the glass ceiling will fall. So I'll just leave it there.
So, ma'am, having seen your strength, grace, and the leadership, balancing multiple responsibilities with power and compassion, so what message would you like to share with the women who aspire to grow, lead, and succeed in their career? Just like
I would say that don't let anything stop you. Don't believe people who say you cannot do it, right? Because as they say, good women don't make history. Yeah. So be who you are, be true to yourself, right? Don't really wait for someone else to give you a push. Put yourself out there, grab opportunities. If someone offers you a position or a place, take it. Don't say that, don't doubt yourself. A lot of women I have found and are not quite sure whether they will be able to do it. Let me tell you that there is really, a lot of capable women out there and who don't recognize their own capacities or capabilities. So grab it, go ahead and know that you're no less than anyone else, who is competing for the same things. There is research that has shown that the gender difference between people who apply for positions or higher level positions, that a male candidate applies for a promotion when he has 60% of what the position requires, right? And a female candidate often applies when she has 110% of what is required for that position.
Oh.
That's a huge difference, right? I want to see a lot more women, think they can do something when they have 70% of what is needed. Go for it. And don't let anything stop you. The world needs you, the university system needs you.
And definitely the women who are listening to this would get inspired from your words and from your leadership role that you have carried so far. And thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today and sharing your incredible journey and the insights with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really happy to have you here. Professor Menon often says, good students are my best resources, a belief she lives by, and having mentored 20 PhD scholars to date. And if you thought that was all, so no, Professor Menon is also an artist at heart. She loves working with the brushes and acrylic colors and dreams of dedicating her post-retirement life to painting. Have the glimpses of her art. And honestly, 2.5 minutes of her introduction, it is just not enough to capture 25 vibrant years of her dedication, leadership and innovation. Across the US and India, Professor Menon's contributions to research, policy, and publishing have made her a trailblazer in reimagining the role of humanities in a digital era. And to our viewers, thank you for tuning into this episode of InnoQuest Talks 1.0. If you are interested in research collaboration opportunities, feel free to reach out to the email displayed on the screen. InnoQuest Talks 1.0 will continue to bring more engaging discussions on research, innovation, and technology at IIT Indore through our YouTube channel. Until next time, keep innovating and keep exploring.